Okay, I am going to record this for you guys. So for drawing 3, okay, I want you to be looking at your object, right? Looking at your reference, and I want you to go ahead and put the value in. Now, I don't want you to lose the line. We want to keep the line quality as much as we can. So when you're going in and shading things or adding value, you might want to make sure that that expressive line stays. So when I'm looking at this edge right here is really light. And I don't want to have a light background against a light object. So I'm going to go in and kind of shade in the background. I'm just using the side of it. I'm not smudging, I'm not smearing. I could go back in later and say, oh, I want that to stand out more, and I could do that. But what I'm going to do is make sure that that background is not darker than that line, because I still want that line to kind of stand out. So you can kind of decide what kind of direction and what kind of style you want for that. When you go into shading, you want to represent the values that you see. So this is really light, and the newsprint paper is kind of like a grayish color. So you might go in and add just a little bit, I'm once again using the side, putting a little bit of value in there. And if something's really light, leave it white, right? Don't overdo it, but kind of go in, shade with the contours, right? I see a little bit of the thickness of the green bell pepper on the outside, so I'm going to put that in there. Like looking at see what do I have here. This part is white. I'm going to leave that for right now. I'm going to probably fix it a little bit later. But like one of my darkest values is right here in the core. So I'm going to go in there and kind of bring out that light edge, right? Maybe bring out the crack that exists in that white part there too. But I want to make sure I'm shading with the direction. So like the shape inside of it, you can see through the texture is going this way, right? So I want to make sure that I'm shading with those contours so that this looks 3D. You don't just want to randomly shade it in. And you want to represent the value that you see. Now I'm standing up, so that might help you to ensure that you are using a nice loose arm. We don't want to be modeling and spending a lot of time smoothing this out, especially if I want that line to stay. Right, so when it comes to the seeds, I got to decide how I'm going to do that. So those seeds are pretty light. Some of them are a little bit like darker, so maybe I can use like a smudgy finger to kind of go in there and put it in a little bit darker, right? And then here, this is like very light, right? So I can think about how am I going to get that to stand out compared to it. So maybe I leave this perfectly white. Maybe I add just a little bit of value there. Maybe I have to go back in here into the dark part to make that light gray part stand out a little bit more, right? So we want some contrast. If you overdo it, you can always go back in and erase with your eraser. Now, you will find that if you work with your eraser, it's probably going to smudge it. So you might have to actually go back in and smudge in some of these things. But I really want you to focus on how can you keep some of that line quality, right? So you want to keep some of that line. So hopefully you guys can see it through the camera. I want to make sure that some of this line stays, okay? So I'd like you to get this done today.